Hello and thanks for joining us here on France 24 for this special edition of France in Focus. This is the country gears up to vote in local elections. Coming up in the programme, the race to be the next mayor of Paris. We take a look at who's who and how they've campaigned to win the keys to Hôtel de Ville. And swinging to the right, with a struggling economy and sky-high unemployment, we take you to the towns and cities likely to send a strong message to President Hollande's government. And the not-so-French connection. Who said that running in these municipal elections meant you had to be from France? We introduce you to some of the candidates from across the Channel. The first round of voting is set to take place this Sunday, the 23rd of March. And while the outcome is likely to determine the political landscape at a local level, it's also seen as a crucial test for the government of President François Hollande. But perhaps of greatest interest beyond France's borders is the race to win the keys to Paris City Hall, or Hôtel de Ville. Let's have a look and see who's in the running and how they've campaigned.
The city's not big enough for the both of them. With Anne Hidalgo and Nathalie Kosciusko-Morizet leading the race for Paris's town hall, the battle's almost certain to throw up the French capital's first female mayor.
There's a local election to elect the mayor on March 23rd. I'm a candidate.
Opponents dub her the heiress. Socialist frontrunner Anne Hidalgo's already served 13 years as deputy mayor. A protégé of the outgoing Bertrand Delanoë, Hidalgo sought to distance herself from Socialist Party President François Hollande, his rock-bottom approval ratings, and national discontent over tax levels.
There won't be a rise in taxes over my first term, because I think that the national tax level is already high enough, both for households and for businesses.
Hidalgo's made waves with plans to build council housing on Paris's upmarket Avenue Foch. The capital's billionaires' row is currently home to Arab royalty, Russian oligarchs and assorted African heads of state. The socialists' campaign poster, apparently heavily retouched, has also come in for ridicule. One PR expert said it resembled an advert for anti-wrinkle cream. Rival Nathalie Kosciusko-Morizet is credited with showing a younger, more modern side to the French right wing. The one-time protégé of ex-President Nicolas Sarkozy as a former environment minister, popularly known as NKM, the candidates pledged to cut local taxes while persuading Paris's best and brightest against fleeing abroad to cities like London and New York.
We have an outgoing administration that's given up. They're looking for excuses. I'm looking for solutions.
NKM faces a challenge from her own political party, businessman Charles Bigbede launching a rival right-wing list. Her campaign has also run into repeated PR blunders. A photo taken in 2005 earned the candidate the nickname the Harpist, allowing opponents to cast Kosciusko-Morizet as overprivileged and out of touch. NKM's efforts to come across as just another Parisian fell flat. Unable to give the price of a metro ticket in a radio interview, her campaign photos also failed to hide a €2,000 luxury handbag in the basket of a rentable city bike. With political commentators arguing that the two candidates differ very little on policy, the heiress and the harpist have sought to outdo each other with outlandish development projects. Hidalgo's proposed floating swimming pools on the River Seine. Kosciusko-Morizet suggested converting abandoned metro stations into theatres. For Paris's voters, housing, transport and crime levels are the top priorities.
Well, there are fears in the ranks of the Socialist Party that given the unpopularity of President François Hollande, these municipal elections are going to result in a number of towns and cities shifting to the right. Well, in a bid to distance themselves from Paris politics, a number of socialist mayors have decided to steer their focus to purely local issues. Well, that's the case in the town of Reims and in the town of Poissy, where we head to now.
They've had this stunning cathedral for centuries, and now the people of Reims also have a tramway system, thanks to their socialist mayor who introduced it 3 years ago. Now her campaign is less about getting around easier and more about limiting protest votes.
Are you happy with the school?
Adeline Azan has carefully avoided implementing unpopular school reforms that she feels are too risky at election time, and on her flyers there is no Socialist Party logo. She is all too aware of the current malaise.
It's true that there is some dissatisfaction and impatience with regard to certain problems that haven't been sorted out by the government. But I say to people here that that isn't a reason not to vote for us.
Her opponents disagree. A vote against Azan is above all for them a vote against François Hollande. In 2008, right-wing divisions meant they lost the city to the socialists. Now UMP candidates Arnaud Robinet and Catherine Vautrin are determined to reconquer the city hall. Their double act is written and rehearsed down to a T.
We are well aware that Madame Azan fully supports François Hollande's policies. She just does locally whatever he says.
We have one simple message. François Hollande is to blame and Madame Azan is his accomplice. Hollande's accomplice is Madame Azan, and that's why people should vote against her.
But it's not the only town that could well swing back to the right. Poissy has been held by the socialists since 2008, but it's a place where their industrial policies have been put to the test. The town's Peugeot Citroën factory now faces closure, an issue that's become the crux of campaigning here. On the left, current Mayor Frédéric Bernard. On the right, UMP candidate Carl Olive. A former sports journalist, Olive was born and bred here and knows how important Peugeot Citroën is to the town. As workers leave the plant for the day, he's keen to stress he's one of them.
For a while I was living in La Coudraille.
Just like me. Where were you in La Coudraille? What number were you at?
At number 65.
Well, I was 71.
Olive says he's ready to do anything to save jobs, something he believes the current mayor isn't willing to do.
We need to roll our sleeves up and fight for the factory.
Confident he'll be re-elected, Mr. Bernard isn't fazed, however, adopting a much quieter style of campaigning.
I spoke to the Peugeot Director General on the phone and he guaranteed that it wouldn't be closing tomorrow. We are able to keep PSR here. It's something I've always tried to do and I don't need to go around screaming it in the streets.
Two battleground towns hanging in the balance, with a left eager to show it still has steam and a right eager for voters to punish the socialists.
With President Hollande's Socialist Party languishing in the polls and the UMP party embroiled in scandals and infighting, the far-right Front National is hoping to win big in these municipal elections, and they've put forward a record number of candidates. Well, it now remains to be seen if Marine Le Pen's tough talk on Europe, crime and immigration will translate into votes. But we're going to head north now to the town of Hénin-Beaumont. That's a town where the Front National is hoping to win big.
Hénin-Beaumont in the far north of France. Here at this tea dance at the Seniors Social Club, they're celebrating the end of carnival season, but battle lines are being drawn on the dance floor and in the town on the whole. The former mining town is a traditional stronghold of the left, but the strongest challenge by far is coming from the far right. Steve Briouat, Front National candidate, is the current sweetheart in the polls, and the gap is narrowing between Briouat and incumbent socialist mayor Eugène Binas.
The danger is that people are saying, let's try something new.
Rising star Briouat has been campaigning for the Front National here since he was a boy, and local campaign staff feel that their time has now come. The Front National zoned in on Hénin-Beaumont years ago. Leader Marine Le Pen owns property here, and she topped the ballots in the first round of the 2012 French presidential vote. She's throwing her support behind Briouat, whose politics resonate strongly with the proud working classes of the north of France.
I'm backing the culture here, cultural events in the local patois. If anti-racist campaigners don't like it, tough.
The town is traditionally left-wing, but factory closures and unemployment rates of over 18% have brought a feeling of abandonment and a shift in loyalties. As the left gears up to combat this threat from the far right, they're fighting the battle on many fronts. Former Mayor Gérard Dallonville resigned after being arrested on corruption charges 5 years ago. He won his appeal and has thrown himself into the race, fracturing support on the left.
I'm going to be the left-wing candidate, no problem there whatsoever.
The parties on the right aren't happy either. These activists from the mainstream right-wing UMP party feel abandoned, having to fight the Front National on their own.
When you're faced with the Front National, why aren't the big names from the National Party coming down here to help us? We're struggling here.
Back at the Social Club, the two frontrunners are trying to shore up the final few votes. It will be a photo finish with 0.5 percentage point separating the two.
And finally, these might be French municipal elections, but it doesn't mean you have to be from France to take part. In fact, in some regions of the country, English people make up a sizable chunk of the population, and many of them have decided to get involved in local politics.
At first glance, Montcuq in the Lot is a quintessential French village, but on a second look, it's not quite so French anymore. About 10% of people living here are British, and some are getting involved in running the place. Rosamond Williams moved here 5 years ago and is now standing for the local council. She thinks her British perspective can give local politicians some fresh ideas.
We are, by nature, people that tends to want to get things done. And if it's something needs fixing, let's go and fix it. French, I think, have a tendency to say, well, this needs to be done. Which organisation is going to do it, rather more a top-down than bottom-up approach.
She's not the only one who thinks the Brits are shaking things up. Mayor Guy Lagarde says having expats on his municipal council has had all sorts of benefits, including getting everyone to turn up to meetings on time, among other things.
If I dared, I'd even say it's easier to work with English people than French ones.
Why?
Because they moan less. English people moan less than French ones.
Perhaps that's why few British residents in France bother to get involved in local politics in their adopted homeland. There are an estimated 200,000 living in this country, but many aren't even aware they're able to vote in these local elections.
They don't speak French, they don't listen to politics on the French television or on the radio. Unfortunately, an awful lot of the English people that are here nowadays deal with everything English.
That's what Rosamond is trying to change. She's busy getting out the vote, informing locally resident expats of their rights and getting them registered. Many are keen to make their voices heard, even saying that as they can't vote in France's presidential polls, they feel disenfranchised.
We're able to vote for MEP, of course, and local elections. And for 15 years from our date of departure, we are able to vote in the English general elections. But yes, I do think there should be the right to vote in the national elections. We are here, we are Montcuquois adoptés. And or as one of the prospective mayors said, we are Montcuquois, point.
Local people, full stop. But in this sleepy village with barely 1,000 voters, they're certainly adding a foreign flavour to a very French election.
Well, that's it for this special edition of France in Focus. Thanks for watching. Do stay tuned to France 24.